another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and today's guest is Ava Kyte, speaking on mindful exercise and conscious living. Ava Kyte is a fitness trainer, yogi, mentor, blogger, creator of Elevate Full Body Workout with Relaxation. Her mission is to elevate people to their highest potential through self-knowledge, self-awareness, and self-love. Ava helps clients achieve balanced weight loss, which results in higher quality of life, health, and well-being. As a former competitive tennis player, she has more than 20 years of experience in training and coaching. She works with private clients in Hoboken and New York and teaches group classes in Hoboken, New Jersey, as well as helps clients remotely over phone Skype. For more information, please visit her website at avakyte.com. Hi, Ava. Welcome to the call. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited being here.
Yes, this is going to be a great topic. We're going to be focusing on mindful exercise and conscious living today because that's Ava's expertise. And so I'd love for you to share with our audience a little bit about who you are and why you chose to become, an expert in this area of fitness training, yoga, author, mentor. Tell us a little bit more about you.
So I am actually from Hungary, and I grew up there, and I came to America when I was 21 years old. And when I was 10 years old, I started playing tennis, and it became a really big part of my life. I was competing up until I was 19. And I think that that's where my journey started, really, and actually a little bit before when I was a child. But this is when I started to train and become physically fitter, and that was a time when I connected to fitness, and I really started pushing myself. I was a competitive tennis player, so I trained a lot. When I was 15 years old, I moved up to Budapest with my brother. My brother also played tennis, and we were playing at a tennis club and went to private school. And most of our time was really filled out with training on the court, off the court. And when I was 15 years old, I walked into the gym the first time in my life. And if I think about it, that, oh, my goodness, I was 15 years old. And if I see a 15-year-old girl in the gym today, I would be a little scared. But that was the time when I started. That was the time when I started training there. And I became so obsessed about working out that even though I trained hours and hours daily, I went to the gym and I trained another 1 or 2 hours every single day. And I put so much tension into my body. I tried so hard to get stronger and be physically fit. And that time I wasn't really aware of it. What was the other reason why I was doing this? But now thinking back, I was just so unhappy with myself, and I was so unhappy with my body as a teenage girl, and I wanted to look better. I wanted to be fitter. I wanted to fit in to what society and what I felt that my environment was what accepting me to be. And so I was struggling in my teenage years with my self-image and with myself. And when I was 19 years old, I decided that I saw that I'm not going to be a professional tennis player. This is not something I'm going to make money out of, so I need to do something with my life. And I went to school in Hungary. It's called Fitness Academy, where I was studying to become a group instructor, a tennis coach, and also a recreational trainer. So I started working as a coach, and I was working in fitness, and I was teaching classes back in Hungary. And when I was 21 years old, I got an opportunity to come to the United States and become a fitness or a tennis coach here. And that time I didn't really speak English. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't know anybody, so I had no idea what to expect from this whole experience. But a year after I was here, I decided that I would like to stay because I would like to find myself and live the life that I desired. But obviously I had no idea what was that at that point. I was just in the beginning of my 20s, and I was just trying to find my way through life. And And a lot has changed. I stopped teaching tennis, and I got into working in restaurants just to survive. It was all about my survival, and throughout that experience, I had to lose myself. So when I was coming out of that experience to find myself again, and I had to recreate who I was. And there was one thing that was steady throughout the time, and the steadiness was in my life, the fitness and the dieting. I mean, I don't think that I have had a minute of break of, searching for some kind of diet that works and fitness plan, and I was in the magazines, and I was training all the time, and that was the middle of my attention, and even I had friends around me that we were talking about this all the time. So really that was like the center of my life. So in 2006, I got to a point where I just didn't like anything I was creating in my life. And I had to face myself in the mirror, and I said, it's either I'm going to go back home to Hungary and I'm going to at least have my family with whatever I do, or I'm going to build a life that I want to build. And that was the first time when I decided to join a school here in America, and I signed up to become a personal trainer. I went to National Personal Training Institute, and I met my now ex-husband throughout those months. And he was a trainer, a bodybuilder. I learned a lot from him about training, but it was really, really like still at the physical level. So I was still training a lot, and I was dieting all the time, and I was like still very obsessed about this whole thing. And I got to a point, it's still growing. The pressure is still growing inside. I'm still not aware of what's happening. My life was absolutely out of balance. My training was out of balance. My sleep was out of balance. I had no idea about who I was. I had no idea about my emotions. I wasn't connecting to myself. I was just doing what I was supposed to be doing. And in 2009, I got my first fitness job in America. I started to work in a gym in Hoboken, New Jersey. And the same year, I had 2 jobs. I didn't sleep enough. I was trying to create a new life, but I still had to hold up an old life. And I ended up with panic attacks and anxiety disorder. And I think that was the huge turning point in my life, because I got to certain points where I couldn't step out of my apartment, and I needed to go out and make money. And I just had this couple of weeks of period when I was like, I needed to sit down and think about my life and what was happening to me. And I realized how much I've been pushing myself. I don't think that I have had a day of my life when I didn't have physical pain. I lived in constant pain because I had so much tension, and I pushed myself so much to my limits every single day. And you can only hold that up for so long.
Right.
So 2010, that's when I started to dig deeper. And I started listening to Tony Robbins. Even before that, I was into the self-improvement books because I was always trying to better myself, and I wanted to learn about myself, and I wanted to stop the struggling that I felt within me. But that was the time when I just knew that something had to change. I was really forced to change it. And I started listening to Tony Robbins. I went to his workshops, Gabby Bernstein, Mastin Kipp, and I started to become more aware of who I was, and I connected to my emotions, and I connected to my needs. And it created a lot of changes in my life. I got separated. Then in 2013, there was this huge transformation that happened to me again. 2 weeks later, I found myself in a workshop with Gabby Bernstein and Mastin Kipp and 11 Miracles. And I did my first Kundalini yoga class. And I was hooked right away, and I said, this is what I need to do. So my whole journey started from a very physical journey, and I had a lot of struggles, and I was very unhappy and frustrated with myself. I didn't know myself. And from that, I was forced to learn more about who I was. about my needs, what I want in my life, to be able to have the life that I really desired. And it seems, that I'm telling you about this right now, and it just seems so perfect, how it happened. Like when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't feel perfect at all. It feels very painful. But when you learn and when you finally come out on the other side and you feel that you're now ready to build that life that you want to build, it's so freeing and it's so liberating. And the reason why I became a mentor and an author is just to share this experience with people. And I bring it together with the fitness because I realize that fitness training itself is not going to resolve what people think it's going to resolve. People are pushing themselves really, really hard. I have seen women struggling with their weight. I was one of those women who wanted to achieve this goal through deprivation instead of self-nurturing and pushing too hard instead of really connecting to our needs. And because of my life experience and because what I've seen as a personal trainer, I became, I guess, who I am today.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I'm so grateful that you were willing to be so vulnerable, sharing your story and going there, because I think it just, the listeners, hearing what you have to say will really connect. I think what teenage girl, all of us at one point were teenage girls, most people listening are women, and I think it's almost a universal. It doesn't matter what country you live in. It's almost universal that you really struggle with confidence and body image at that period of your life. And ideally, as a woman, we move past that, right, and grow and heal. But to your point, there's a lot of women that still really don't love their bodies and don't feel comfortable in how they look and are therefore feeling they're actually going about a very masculine way, right, of trying to change things through push and hard, and we can see that struggle is not necessary. And I think that's really what I'm hearing for you. You're giving hope for women listening that, could improve on their body and their health overall, but through a different avenue and through love and nurture and kindness. Which is so important, especially as women, to take care of ourselves and treat ourselves well is just paramount. It's like a big part of my podcast is mama self-care. I really encourage women to always, whether you're a mother or not, just please take care of yourself, because we're all taking care of everyone else, and, we need to take care of ourselves first. So I appreciate that you went there, and I'm really excited for you to share with our listeners about, because of that struggle and that journey that you went through, tell us about this new workout program, Elevate, that you have created and what it is and why you created it.
So Elevate class came out of this experience and the many years of personal training experience that I have, and also what I see that's becoming so trendy in the past couple of years. And what's like this, there are a lot of changes happening in the world right now, and the world changes really, really fast because of the technology. Yeah. So I am, because I'm also coming from a competitive background, and when I was working in the gym, it was just so, like what I felt that people were expecting me as a trainer, that they come in, I'm going to just train them really hard, that I'm just going to push them to their limits. And I don't know, it just didn't feel right to me. It just didn't feel right to me because I knew that it wasn't working. And I had a lot of female clients who wanted to lose weight. And some women, it was working, and for some women it wasn't. And it wasn't working for me on the level of how much I trained and how much attention I thought I was putting into my body. I was eating well, I guess, and I was training, so I was supposed to achieve those goals. And what I learned that we are just so out of balance, and I think that being out of balance became cool. It's just a thing today that we just need to push ourselves and get the most out of ourselves. And what you were saying about the self-care, that this is your focus too, that's what you're telling your your mamas or even women who are not moms, this is exactly the same thing that's the message that I'm trying to get across too, because we are so out of touch with what we need. And we go into these training programs and we do it because it's cool and it's fun. It is fun. But the question is this something that you need right now? And how do you know what you need if you don't know what you need, period? So I wanted to create a class where people can come and just connect to themselves. Like we always try to think through things, but our mind is limited to whatever we have experienced in the past. So when we want to think through it, we are thinking through those limitations. So we actually can't really get through it. We are blocked. And what I want women or people to help them with, to come into their bodies and just connect to that and validate it and give them that empowerment to validate their own needs. So the class was built because there is a lot of imbalance in the world today and in the workouts today, and I wanted to do something that's slower. And I wanted to do something that focuses on the problems that we are having today, which is people sit all day long, and they look down at their phones and the computers all day long, and they deal with a lot of not just physical tension from the all day sitting, but they also deal with a lot of emotional and mental tension from the constant stress and busyness of their lives. Mm-hmm. So this class is all about balancing that. This class is about coming into you and connecting to your breath. I bring in my corrective exercise experience where I work on posture. I bring in my yoga and Kundalini yoga philosophy that I've learned through Kundalini yoga, where you connect to the breath and the relaxation and the releasing of tension of the muscles and how you do that. And I also bring the philosophy in that certain parts of our body physically, when we get that stronger, we actually become much stronger as a person. Because parts of us, like if we slouch forward, we can't breathe, we can't take deep breaths, our heart is closed, we can't take deep breaths, we are going to be stressed because our system is under stress. So the only way that we can get out of the stress state when we open up. And sometimes it's really hard to do that mentally, but physically we can support ourselves to get to that point. Mm-hmm. So this is really the reason why I created this class, to help people to balance, to reconnect, to learn to relax, to connect to their needs and just allow themselves to be. And it can be a class for people who have never trained before. It's really in between, I don't even know how to explain it, a fitness class and the yoga class, and there is relaxation, and there is breathing, and there's everything in it, just to help to balance people and their. Sense.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're looking to help create some balance in people's lives, you actually have created a balance class. So as opposed to like, okay, I need an hour for yoga, I need an hour for strength training, I need an hour for, stretching. Like, you're like, no, we can incorporate all of that into one class.
Why not?
And is there some cardio? I'm assuming there's a little cardio thrown in there.
Yeah, so at the beginning we start with just kind of like shaking at, the body and moving. It's kind of like a free moving, freestyle that you do whatever you feel like for the music, just to kind of let go, like we hear it all day long, and in our childhood and in our lives, it's like, what do we have to do? How do we have to behave? And who do we have to be? And it's just 10 minutes of this class is the beginning is just letting go and jump it out, shake it out. We have all these emotions stored in our muscles that all the grief or the sadness, all the pain that we don't go through, and we just hold it down. And there's finally an opportunity when you can just let go of all of that and let go of the tension that you built on throughout your life or the day or whatever is happening with you right now. So it does start with some dynamic movement and shaking and just jumping at the beginning, and then we go into a little bit more strengthening and in the same time stretching and connecting faith. And then the class ends with the relaxation period. So we have about a 10 minutes time at the end when we just go into a guided relaxation.
Like a meditation, really, right?
Yes, it's basically the guided relaxation. It's all about, again, connecting to the breath and then connecting to every single part of the body and releasing any tension or heaviness or anything that you might be holding on. And I think that's what I noticed a lot of times with people, that until they go into this state, they don't even understand how much tension they have.
Sure.
I
completely agree with that.
Yeah, we live in this life when we are not aware of how much better we could feel. And I think that this is the tricky part when it comes to change.
You know what? I mean, we are totally speaking the same language. You know, as a chiropractor, you know, for somebody can come into my office in severe pain, right? And they are like so aware of where the pain is and where it's going and all that. But there's a lot of different levels of that tension, and tension isn't always like screaming pain. It could be very subtle. And typically, you know, pain is the last symptom to show up in our bodies because our nervous system is so intelligent that we're not conscious of every little sensation within our body, or we wouldn't be able to function because we would be so overwhelmed with bodily sensations. But it is really important to be in touch with your body, to make time. It doesn't have to be all the time, but sometime every day to connect with every part of your body and listen to it and have an awareness of what it needs. And so to your point, somebody might come to my office not in pain, and they lay on the table, and I start touching different parts of their back and other areas, and they'll be like, "Wow, I had no idea that was sore, that was tender," and that's their body's way. You know, their body is telling them like this is not right. You know, there's issues with alignment, there's issues with the musculoskeletal system, and that's going to impact how the nervous system functions. And a lot of that is emotionally based. So I love that there's this workout here that's addressing the emotional component because we can't separate the mind from the body. So taking that time to connect and be like, okay, there's some soreness, there's some pain here. Where is that coming from? You know, like, it could be a physical cause like sitting all day and postural. But what about the stress that you're feeling at work? You know, where is that being stored in your body? And so I think it is important to realize that does happen for all of us. And then let's say somebody does feel that tension in their neck, maybe from work stress. You through this guided relaxation, they're able to actually release it. Once they're conscious and aware of it, they can actually release that tension, and it's going to improve their physical function by doing that.
Absolutely. And I think that I feel the trickiest part about my work, and I don't know if you feel that way about yours, but is to bring that awareness to people. You know, that you actually are able to feel better. There is a way to feel better. You might not be connecting to that right now. And the other thing, that how it shifts your whole life. Yeah. Because if you think about it, that when you become aware of something and then you start feeling better and how you show up in your life, like let's say just talk about the posture. When you step into a room full of people, like let's say if you work in a corporate world, right, especially if you're a woman, if we step in with an open, you know, like a good posture that we really stand up and we are graceful and we hold ourselves up, that gives a very different message than if we are slouched forward and we are push our head forward. So it's not just also about how we feel, but how everybody else perceives us. And I think that's where a lot of shift happens also. So it is so powerful, and I think that it's just really important to bring awareness to this, that there is a way to feel better and have a more joyful life, you know?
Yes. That is definitely, been the mission of my practice, for 11 years now, and then doing this podcast as well is letting people know that, even if you're not necessarily like miserable or depressed, that there still can be a majority of people walking around and kind of like just getting through the motions type of mentality, and that's not a joyful, happy experience. And we all have that opportunity to create that for ourselves. So, as you were talking about that, about how to help people shift into this feeling fully alive sort of state is what I'm hearing from you. I'm reminded of Tony Robbins. I'm also a big Tony Robbins fan, and this is basic human psychology. Humans move towards pleasure and away from pain. So as I was mentioning, my office, a lot of times people don't come into my office until they're in a lot of pain, right? Because they're like, I can't live with this anymore. But they might have had it for months, right? And it's just gotten gradually worse and worse and worse. And that's the trigger to get them to take action and to make an appointment in my office. But what about if they just wanted to move towards pleasure, and this way is just pleasure is feeling fully alive. Feeling fully alive is very pleasurable, and having that happiness and joy and contentment and where you're at in your life and what your body looks like and the people that you surround yourself and your whole community. And I think that's a little bit more a little bit harder to fully grasp. Like, you know what I mean? It's not so in our face like pain is, right? It is more subtle, but, I do think as more and more people are learning about personal development and listening to mentors like yourself, they're able to hear what's possible for them, and there's an excitement in that, and it's scary at the same time because there's growth and change required in order to get to that area. And there is some pain, there is pain, right? So you go through the pain to get to the pleasure, which seems kind of like, like opposite of how it should be. But that's the part of the process and part of the journey. And there's also opportunities for a lot of ease and grace as well. So that's the cool thing. Absolutely. It doesn't have to all be just hard work. So I love that. I love that you're really, putting this out there of this conscious living concept. And, it's interesting too, as I'm thinking about it, that my last few podcast guests have all been on the same wavelength of talking about conscious living. Dr. Shafali was on a couple episodes ago about conscious parenting, and I had a mindfulness coach talk about mindful parenting, and just all of it's the same idea, right? Like the way we live our life, whether as a parent or as a partner or as an employee or a business owner or a daughter, whatever role you're playing at that moment, there's an opportunity to just do it in a conscious way. And using our bodies, like through this workout that you were describing, Elevate, that's how actually, once again, to help stay conscious, because we can be like, oh, I want to be more conscious, but how do you make that a habit? How do you make that part of your day-to-day living, right?
Exactly.
Not 100%, right, because that would be not humanly possible, but moving more towards being conscious, the majority of our time, right? More than maybe we currently are. And to me, a good way to make any habit is to get it into your body, and allow our nervous system to help anchor us in that new habit. And so, doing a workout that is helping you become more conscious just makes so much sense to me, that would help people outside of their exercise class and being more mindful. And so in other words, okay, maybe for this class I've connected to parts of my body, but now I can start doing that even when I'm not in the class, right? And I can start being aware of where I'm holding tension, and then learning how to take some time to just sit with that and feel it. That's the other thing, what that it feels like even if it is uncomfortable, kind of sitting and being like, okay, I'm going to sit with that, because maybe there's not a clarity of where it's coming from, right? And then it's like, okay, is this really deep-seated? Is this from my childhood? That was a lot that was coming up with these other speakers, is we were talking about current stresses, and those are real, right? But what about our childhood patterning and, the subconscious beliefs of ourself and our thoughts and how that impacts our bodies as adults, Well,
I think that everything comes from there. I have to say that everything comes from there. And I think that's why what you do, the mindful parenting, is so important. It's because and helping people to become more mindful, and moms and the self-care, is because we teach everything to our children. I don't have kids yet, but from my experience, I see the patterns. I see the patterns that I've learned in my family, and because I don't live there anymore, and when I see my family, I can be a little bit more an observer, and I recognize myself, and it's a really interesting experience, because when you're far enough away from the pattern that you can see it, because when you're in it, you can't see it.
Right.
But when you become an observer, that you're able to kind of just look at it from the outside as an observer, and then you start seeing your patterns, and you start seeing, like, for me, the reason why I was pushing so much all the time is, Tony Robbins says that everybody thinks that they are not good enough, and then if they're not good enough, they are not going to be loved. So I learned it from myself. That wasn't my bottom belief, that I wasn't good enough. I believed that I was bad. And so every single thing in my life, I was trying to prove that, but I'm not bad. I am not bad. And I was working so hard, and I was trying so hard in my relationships and my jobs, everything that I've done with my training. It's again, Tony Robbins also says, how you do anything is how you do everything. So how you're going to show up in one place, you're going to show up the same way in another place too. And becoming aware of that, it's so important, because it's almost like we get, especially when we are in an unhappy place, right? Because people usually don't become aware of this stuff unless it just kind of pulls their eyes, like, hey, this is not working anymore. And when we get to this point that we just need to shift it, that we have it's a possibility. It's a possibility for us to free ourselves from something that's just not functional for ourselves, and we can just be free of it and open up to a different world and different possibilities. So I think that even though that there is a scariness of this process, and it does get scary, and it gets sometimes hard, but if you get the right support, then you're going to have people you can lean on, and they can be there for you and support you on this journey. And I think that that's the other thing that's so important, to have those people around, experts and, mentors or your friends or whoever it is. Just have somebody who is there for you and helps you and can guide you on this journey, because it is not fun to do it alone.
Right, and the truth is that you don't have to do it alone. Like, there is opportunities to create community, find community, and and get support where it's needed. Mm-hmm. So I completely agree. I'd love for you to share with people, maybe some of our listeners today, about if they're currently struggling with body image and weight concerns. Like, what would you tell those listeners today?
So if I meet somebody today who becomes my client, and her goal is to lose weight, the number one thing that I say that, okay, the more relaxed we can be throughout this process, that's the best. There is a lot of anxiety around weight loss. There is a lot of anxiety around our physical body. I feel that women define themselves by how they look, what they look like, and their bodies, and there's a lot of pain around it, and there's a lot of fear around it, and that fear and that anxiety around causes so much tension, and we tend to do things that pull us out of balance even more. So my biggest focus with women who I work together with, how can we find more balance in your life? How can we nourish you more than you did before. It's not about the deprivation. It's not about the extreme fitness programs, being in the gym all the time and forgetting about social life and forgetting about friends and the family. And it's not about that at all. It's about finding more balance and more joy and more happiness and looking at themselves, ourselves, as this process is all about self-nourishment. So that would be my biggest suggestion. It's you don't have to like it to love it.
Right.
You don't have to like your body to love it. You don't have to like your body right now to give it what it needs and give yourself what it needs. But if you need self-knowledge for that, then you have to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I think that's so important. It's such a powerful message that you just shared. Okay, so what about for just any of us that are, hopefully everyone listening has some sort of workout, unless you literally just gave birth, has some sort of fitness regimen that you have incorporated into your lifestyle. And how can we make mindfulness more part of our fitness regimen?
I think that where it starts, and again, I go back from my own personal experience, is just becoming more aware of what we need and where is our body. How is our schedule? Are we really busy? Can we sleep enough? Excuse me. How many hours can we spend to take care of ourselves? Where do we have to show up in our lives? It all at one point comes together. We can't do everything. It's not possible to do everything. And just being very mindful with our personal physical needs. What is that my body needs to help me to function and be more efficient in my life? That's my approach to fitness, to mindful fitness. It's about me being good to myself and me being mindful with my physical needs and creating an environment to my body that I am going to be more efficient in my life. Because that's what I need it for. This is my temple, and if I don't have this body, I can't show up. I can't be there. I can't be myself. If I feel tired, if I feel tense, if I feel drained, if I haven't slept enough, I am just not able to be myself, and I'm not able to be 100%. And so my suggestion or recommendation is really just, again, connecting to yourself, connect to your needs, connect to the physical needs, and create something that's balanced and helps you to become more efficient and support your life and your lifestyle.
Yeah, and another thing that's coming up for me as we're talking about this, specifically for women, is how, as we go through our monthly cycles, how we'll have different levels of energy that we can use towards fitness, right? And so a lot of times it's really important to actually change your workout schedule based on where you're at in your menstrual cycle.
Absolutely. And it's okay to change it,
Yeah, it is okay because we're not men, right? Men don't necessarily go through as powerful of a monthly cycle as women do. And so, in other words, there's going to be periods of your probably around ovulation that we have more energy and we can probably do a harder workout. And there's going to be periods maybe premenstrually that we need to kind of slow it down a bit. And that's not there's no failure or shame to have to do a lesser work. Not even, I shouldn't say lesser workout, but you know what I mean. Just a more gentle workout.
Yes, it is because it is, again, it's really depends on what you need. When I go to my clients, I ask them, okay, I'm how are you feeling? How many hours did you sleep? How's your stress level? I look at them and I see how they feel. That's how I built up the workout. I used to do that I showed up with an already set workout, and then I realized I was all right, this workout is not going to be used today because this is not what they need that day. And I have had times when it was all about breathing and relaxation, because that is exactly what they needed. And there were times when training harder was the answer. And there were times when it was just kind of like a mix of things. And I think that that's the important part, is just being so in touch with yourself and understanding that in that second where you are in your life, you want to work out. What do you need? Do you need to take a walk? Do you need to just breathe? Do you need to do relaxation? Do you need to do, I don't know, an intensive workout because that feels much better for you? Is it 10 minutes today, or is it going to be 30 minutes? Like, what's happening in your life altogether? And not just really sticking to this really tight, plan. But of course, you have to be dedicated and you have to show up and you have to be consistent and all of that. Yes, those are really important. But you can't push everything all day.
Right. Yeah, the human body is not intended for that, right? Like, we need rest days. We need days off, and so there's times to push and there's times to pull back. And that mindfulness, I think, is just, to your point, an awareness of what your body needs right now, so that you can adjust accordingly and not get injured, right? If you push too hard, that's where injuries occur.
Or sick.
And you get sick,
because your immune system can break down. You could also actually start gaining weight instead of losing weight if you want to lose weight, because you're stressing yourself constantly and your body is not getting a break. So this is one of the common mistakes that I see people when they want to lose weight, that they push, and it's all about the push. And then they start feeling that they are not losing weight, and that's when you start hearing from women that weight training can add weight, and it's not the weight training, it's just the way that we do it. So I think that it's that's why it's so important to focus on the stress and focus on the how relaxed can I be when I work out, and even it's so important, which I put into the Elevate class, that you can push when you're tense. It's going to have a different effect, and you can push when you're relaxed, and you can push relaxedly. You can make it, I call this a relaxed effort. Like, how can you make the most relaxed effort throughout the workout if you want to get strong? But it's not a tense effort. It's a relaxed effort when you kind of like just flow with it, when you're absolutely connected to your body and you just let go and you use it very efficiently. And it's the same with the workout. So it's one thing that you're changing the intensity, but even in the intensity, can you relax into your intensity? That's a really important thing too, I find.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'd love for you to share an example from your practice of a woman who you've witnessed her transformation.
I just recently still have a client. Started training her about 4 months ago, and what I love about her transformation is that it is slow and steady, and it's not perfect.
Right.
I love it that it's real and consistent. So she lost almost 20 pounds in 4 months, which is, I think, it's amazing. Yeah. And she is a mom. She is a hardworking mom. She is a professional. She works really hard. She doesn't have a lot of sleep, many nights. She had a period of time when she was traveling throughout this 4 months, and she wasn't able to make it to the gym 5 times a week. Sometimes it was 2 when she saw me, and sometimes it was 1. And sometimes it was 3, and sometimes it was 4. So it was really about, what I love about this transformation is that there are no rules. Mm-hmm. It is really about you, and it is really about your life and honoring that. When we honor who we are and we honor our life, we can achieve anything. When we are fighting with it and we are trying to create something else that we can, that's when we start struggling. And what I loved about this is that anytime I ask her, I'm like, so how are you doing? Like, what's going on? And she's like, I'm great. And I feel that she's surprised how easy it's been. That's really rewarding for me to see.
Yeah. It sounds like it's actually been fun for her to go through this. And then just even probably a shift in how she's connecting with her children and with her husband and friends and coworkers.
Oh yeah.
Everything, right?
It ripples out. It ripples out. When you feel good about yourself, you will just show that to the world. I mean, it's everything. That's where everything starts.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's an awesome story. And I think that's, once again, hopefully providing hope for women listening and who feel perhaps stuck in wanting to lose those last few pounds of baby weight or whatever, just not feeling like they're comfortable in their body at where it's at. And so I think that this is exciting to know that there is a different way to achieve those results without having to push so hard, and it can actually be more effortless and fun.
Oh, yes, it should be.
It should be. Yes, totally. So, Ava, any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, if anybody is interested, I started a group on Facebook. It's called Self-Care Movement for Women, and I created that. It's a closed group, so women can share if they want to their challenges and their experience with self-care. Because I find that it's really, really important to have that support. Mm-hmm. Especially in a society where self-care, we almost should feel bad that we want to take care of ourselves. So I think that it's really, really important to have that support around, and I have really, like, my last message is just to connect to yourself and care for yourself and feel good about it. Just have fun with it and enjoy it. Enjoy yourself.
Enjoy yourself. That's a great last thought to share. So, and if people want to contact you, how can they find you beyond the Facebook page?
They can find me on my website, avakyte.com. It's AVAKYTE. And I would love to hear from them. If they have any questions, I would love them to, feel free to connect and ask anything. They can find contact info on my website, or they can just email to info@avakyte.com too.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Ava, once again, thank you so much for coming on Well-Adjusted Mama today and sharing your expertise regarding conscious living and working out.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Laura.